I didn't fall for the wrong man. I fell for the most loyal one in the room. And loving him meant betraying everyone. I notice him because he doesn't look like he's trying to be noticed. That alone makes him different. The room is crowded in the way only neutral ground gatherings ever are. Too many powerful men pretending they're relaxed. Too many smiles sharpened into weapons. The chandeliers are obscene, dripping light over polished marble floors, crystal glasses, silk dresses. A fundraiser on paper. A ceasefire in practice. I stand near the edge of it, champagne untouched in my hand, posture straight, expression calm. I know how to exist in rooms like this. I know how to be invisible without being dismissed. That's when I feel it. Not eyes on me, not attention. Presence. I turn slowly, scanning the space with practiced disinterest, and that's when I see him. He's standing near a column, slightly apart from the cluster around him, hands folded loosely behind his back. No drink, no phone, no visible security, though I know better. He's dressed in black, but not ostentatiously. Tailored suit, white shirt, collar crisp, no tie. Nothing flashy, nothing indulgent. Still, something about him holds the room differently. He isn't watching the women. He isn't posturing with the men. He's listening. And when he does speak, quietly, to the man beside him, the conversation shifts. The people around him lean in without realizing they're doing it. That's when it hits me. Power doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it waits. I shouldn't keep looking, so I don't. I turn back to the conversation I'm half involved in, nodding at the right moments, smiling when expected. My mind stays disciplined, focused. But awareness lingers. I don't know his name yet. I don't know his position. I don't know who he answers to. I only know that something in me registered him as a problem before my heart ever got involved. That should have been enough. Careful. Claire murmurs beside me, following my gaze before I can stop her. That one's not ours. My stomach tightens. Who? I ask lightly, like I don't already know the answer will matter. She leans closer. Falcone's right hand? The words land with quiet precision. Falcone. Rival family. Old blood. Strategic violence. The kind of power that doesn't shout but erodes everything around it over time. Which Falcone? I ask, though there's only one that matters. Claire gives me a look. Adrian Falcone. You know exactly which one. My grip tightens around the stem of my glass. Adrian Falcone. Right-hand men are worse than the men they serve. They're closer to the violence, closer to the truth. They don't need approval to act. They anticipate it. I should look away again. I don't. Our eyes meet. Not accidentally, not briefly, deliberately. His gaze is steady, unreadable, dark without being cold. He doesn't smile. He doesn't soften. He doesn't look away first. It isn't flirtation. It's assessment. And it feels invasive. I don't blush. I don't fidget. I meet it head on, because I don't know how to do anything else. After a beat, he inclines his head. Barely. Acknowledgement, not invitation. Then he turns back to the man he was speaking with, conversation resuming as if nothing happened. Except, everything did. You okay? Claire asks. Yes, I say automatically. It's a lie. Not because I feel overwhelmed or shaken. Because I feel seen. And that's worse. The night continues. Speeches. Applause. Carefully orchestrated civility. I don't see Adrian Falcone approach anyone unnecessarily. He doesn't circulate, he doesn't charm. He stays where he is, moving only when required, every step purposeful. Once, I see him bend to murmur something into Falcone's ear, his dawn, seated at a central table, surrounded by men who look like they'd kill for the privilege of standing 2 feet closer. Falcone listens, then nods, and something shifts in the room. That's when I understand. Adrian Falcone doesn't speak often, but when he does, decisions follow. I excuse myself to the balcony under the pretense of fresh air. The night is cool, the city humming below, lights scattered like a constellation that never quite makes sense. I rest my hands on the railing and let myself breathe for the first time in an hour. You shouldn't be alone out here. The voice is low, controlled, not a threat. I don't jump. I don't turn right away. I could say the same to you, I reply calmly. When I do turn, he's already standing at a respectful distance. Not crowding, not looming, just present. Up close, he's even more composed than he looked inside. Clean lines, sharp eyes, no wasted motion. His face isn't conventionally warm, but it's compelling in a way that has nothing to do with beauty. Adrian Falcone, he says. I don't believe we've met. His voice is exactly what I expected. Measured, precise. Ava Monroe, I reply. I'm surprised you don't. A corner of his mouth lifts. Not quite a smile. I do, he says. I just prefer confirmations over assumptions. That should have irritated me. Instead, it intrigues me. We stand there in silence for a moment. City noise filling the space between us. This isn't a social call, I say eventually, so I assume you didn't come out here for small talk. No, he agrees. I came out because you did. There's no heat in the words, no challenge, just truth. And why is that? I ask. Because you look like someone who understands the difference between neutrality and surrender, he replies. I study him more carefully now. That's an interesting thing to say to a woman you don't know. I know enough, he says. You don't enjoy these gatherings. You attend them because someone has to. And you watch everything. I don't deny it. That doesn't mean I want commentary, I say. Of course not, he replies easily. It means I should choose my words carefully. There's something unsettling about a man who knows exactly how much space he's allowed to take, and never exceeds it. You're Falcone's right hand, I say. Yes. No defensiveness, no pride, just fact. Then this conversation is a mistake. Yes. He agrees again. The ease of it catches me off guard. And yet, I say, you're still standing here. He meets my gaze steadily. So are you. That lands harder than I expect. A gust of wind lifts my hair, and without thinking, I tuck it back behind my ear. His eyes follow the motion, not hungrily, not possessively, noticing. You should go back inside, I say. You should too, he replies. Then why don't you? Because you're not finished thinking yet. My pulse ticks up. You're very confident, I say. No, he corrects. I'm observant. That's worse. I've been told. The doors open behind us. Laughter spills out. Music. Noise. The spell breaks. Adrian steps back immediately, creating space without being asked. It was, clarifying, he says. That's not how I describe it, I reply. His gaze lingers for a fraction of a second longer. It will be, he says, eventually. Then he turns and goes back inside, leaving me alone with the city and the unsettling realization that he didn't flirt, didn't threaten, didn't charm, and somehow managed to unsettle me more than any of them ever have. When I rejoin the group later, the room feels different. Sharper. I keep catching glimpses of Adrian across the space, always where he needs to be, never where he shouldn't. He doesn't seek me out again. He doesn't need to. The damage is already done. On the drive home, I stare out the window and replay the night with uncomfortable clarity. I think about his calm, his precision, the way he didn't once pretend this was anything other than what it was. A line. One I should never cross. And yet, as the city slips past and the night deepens, one thought settles heavily in my chest. Loving a man like Adrian Falcone wouldn't feel like passion. It would feel like betrayal. And I don't know yet if I'm strong enough to resist something that honest. I don't expect to see him again so soon. That's the first mistake. The second is believing that neutrality actually exists in our world. 3 days after the fundraiser, my name appears on a briefing agenda I didn't request and don't want. It comes from a joint task force, neutral territory, shared logistics, shared intelligence. Temporary cooperation meant to prevent a skirmish that would spill too loudly into public view. I read the email once, then again. Then I stare at the last line until it blurs. Falcone representation confirmed. I already know who that means. The meeting takes place in a converted courthouse downtown. Old stone, high ceilings, the kind of building designed to intimidate by reminding you how small you are. Security is layered and discreet, men stationed where they can see everything without appearing to watch. I arrive early. Habit. Control. The room smells like coffee and old paper. A long table dominates the center, chairs arranged with deliberate symmetry. Name placards already set. Mine is there. Across from it, Falcone. Not Adrian's name, just the family, which somehow makes it worse. I take my seat and open my folder, scanning documents I've already memorized. Numbers, routes, timelines, nothing I don't understand. What I don't understand is why my pulse keeps ticking faster as the room fills. When the door opens again, I don't look up right away. I don't need to. I feel him before he speaks. Good morning. The voice is calm, controlled, familiar. I lift my gaze. Adrian Falcone stands at the far end of the table, jacket buttoned, expression neutral. He nods once to the room at large, then takes the seat directly across from me. No hesitation, no performance. Not beside his Don, not behind him, across from me. I don't react. I don't smile. I give him the same composed acknowledgement I give everyone else. Professional. Distant. He returns it in kind. If anyone else in the room notices the shift in the air, they don't comment. The meeting begins. Logistics first. Shared concerns. Carefully worded statements about cooperation and restraint. Everyone speaks as if they believe it. Adrian doesn't speak at all. He listens. I feel his attention like a line drawn between us. Steady, unintrusive, impossible to ignore. He doesn't stare. He doesn't watch my mouth or my hands. He watches the room. And somehow, that feels more intimate. When it's my turn to present, I stand without looking at him. My voice is steady, my delivery clean. As outlined, I say, tapping the document, the issue isn't territory, it's timing. If shipments overlap here, I indicate the map. We create a bottleneck neither side can afford. A murmur of agreement ripples around the table. I feel it when Adrian shifts. Not dramatically. Just enough. Agreed, he says, finally speaking. The room quiets. His voice carries without effort. The overlap creates unnecessary exposure, he continues. Staggering schedules resolves it without escalation. I glance at him, just briefly. Our eyes meet. No challenge. No triumph. Alignment. I look away first. Not because I lose nerve, but because I refuse to let the moment deepen. The meeting adjourns with handshakes and polite nods. I gather my things quickly, intent on leaving before proximity becomes unavoidable. It doesn't work. Ava. He says my name like he's practiced it. I stop. I don't turn. Yes? May I walk you out? The request is quiet, formal. Optional. I weigh my options in the space of a heartbeat. Saying no would draw attention. Saying yes would invite something I don't want. I choose the lesser risk. Fine, I say. We walk side by side down the long corridor, footsteps echoing against stone. He doesn't crowd me, doesn't angle his body toward mine. He matches my pace exactly. I appreciate your clarity in there, he says. I didn't do it for you. I know, he replies easily. That's why it mattered. I resist the urge to look at him again. This cooperation is temporary, I say. Let's not pretend otherwise. He nods. Temporary arrangements still require trust. That's generous of you, I reply coolly. Accurate, he corrects. Not generous. We reach the front doors. Sunlight spills across the steps outside, bright and unforgiving. He stops before crossing the threshold. This is where we part, he says. I turn to face him now. That was always the plan. Yes, he agrees. Plans change. Not this one. He studies me, not my body, not my face in any way that feels invasive. My posture, my stillness. You don't like standing in the middle, he says. I don't like standing on the wrong side. A beat. There isn't always a right one, he replies. That's where we disagree. I step past him and down the steps without waiting for a response. The sun is too bright, the city too loud. I don't look back. I feel him watching anyway. The forced proximity doesn't end there. It never does. Over the next week, his name appears too often in places it shouldn't. Emails, briefings, quiet updates shared between people who don't know they're tightening a noose. We don't speak outside official settings. We don't text. We don't acknowledge each other unless necessary, which somehow makes the tension worse. At a follow-up meeting, I catch him finishing a sentence for a man twice his age, and watching that man accept it without resentment. At another, I watch him redirect a heated exchange with a single look. Power, I learn, doesn't need volume. It needs certainty. It's after the third meeting that he finally crosses a line. Not physically. Verbally. Walk with me, he says as the room clears. It's not a question. I hesitate just long enough to let him know I noticed. Then I follow. We stop near a side exit, the city visible through glass. You don't trust me, he says. That's an understatement. I don't require your trust, he replies, but I need your honesty. I laugh once, short and sharp. You're asking for a lot. No, he says. I'm asking for accuracy. He meets my gaze steadily. You're not conflicted because of me, he continues. You're conflicted because you understand the implications. My jaw tightens. You don't know what I understand. I know you're not naive, he says, and you're not reckless. Then stop pushing. I'm not, he replies. I'm standing still. That unsettles me more than pressure ever could. You're loyal to Falcone, I say. Yes. Unconditionally? A pause. Precisely, he answers. That word lands heavy. And if loyalty demands something you don't agree with? Then I carry it, he says. Agreement isn't a requirement. I search his face for hesitation. There is none. That should repel me. Instead, it terrifies me in a way I can't articulate. This conversation is inappropriate, I say. Yes, he agrees. Then why are we having it? Because you won't stop thinking about it until we do. The audacity of that nearly makes me laugh. I don't think about you. Not like that, he says, but you measure distance now. You didn't before. I step back. You're crossing a line. No, he replies. I'm naming it. Silence stretches. The glass reflects us faintly. Two figures standing too close without touching. I won't be the reason you fracture your loyalties, he says quietly. I didn't say you were, but you're afraid I could be. That's the truth. I don't deny it. You should go, I say. He nods immediately. No resistance. Of course. He steps away, creating space so cleanly it feels rehearsed. One more thing, he adds, pausing. I wait. You don't owe anyone your peace, he says, but you do owe yourself clarity. Then he leaves, just like that. I stand there longer than necessary, staring at the place where he was. I don't feel tempted, I feel warned. And the worst part, the part one don't want to admit even to myself, is that the warning didn't come from him. It came from me. Because standing on the wrong side isn't what scares me anymore. It's realizing how easily I could justify crossing over if I ever stopped pretending the line was solid. I don't expect to see violence. That's naive, I know. Violence is the currency of our world, even when we pretend we're dealing in negotiations and logistics and carefully worded compromises. But there's a difference between knowing it exists and being close enough to feel it breathe. I don't realize how close I am until it's too late. The site visit is meant to be procedural. Neutral ground again. A warehouse on the outskirts of the city, stripped of identifiers, cleared for inspection by mutual agreement. We're there to verify a transfer schedule, routes, timing, the kind of details that decide whether a truce holds or fractures. I arrive with 2 men. Adrian arrives with 1. No Dawn. No posturing. No excess. He nods to me once when I enter, acknowledgement without invitation. We stand on opposite sides of the concrete floor while the logistics team runs through their checklist. The space is cavernous. Cold. The air smells like dust and oil and old metal. Everything about it feels wrong. Something's off, I murmur to Claire under my breath. She doesn't ask what I mean. She feels it too. Adrian's gaze lifts, not to me, but to the far end of the warehouse. His posture shifts almost imperceptibly, weight redistributing like a man preparing for weather. He raises a hand. The room stills. Pause, he says quietly. Not shouted. Not sharp. Everyone listens anyway. It happens fast after that. A door at the side slams open. Shouting. The scrape of boots on concrete. I don't see the weapon right away. I hear it. The metallic click that turns air into threat. Adrian moves. Not toward me, toward the sound. Stay back, he says over his shoulder. It's the first time he's ever given me an instruction. I obey. The confrontation is brief and brutal in the way only controlled violence ever is. There's no shouting from Adrian. No rage, just decisive action. He disarms the man with terrifying efficiency, pinning him to the ground, one knee pressed into his back, forearm firm against his throat. The man struggles. Adrian doesn't raise his voice. Don't, he says calmly. You won't win. There's no cruelty in his tone, just certainty. I stand frozen, heart hammering, watching the way Adrian handles it. How his movements are precise, economical, practiced. How his face doesn't change. How this isn't new to him. Security swarms in seconds, hauling the man away, shouting questions. Adrian stands slowly, straightening his jacket, wiping his hands once against a cloth he pulls from his pocket. He looks steady, like this cost him nothing. That's what scares me most. The room erupts into noise. Arguments, accusations, the fragile truce shaking under the weight of what just happened. Adrian cuts through it with a single sentence. This was unauthorized, he says. Handled. We proceed. And they do. Just like that. I don't speak to him until later. When the warehouse is emptying out, adrenaline still buzzing through my veins, I find him near the exit, quietly conferring with his man. He dismisses him with a nod, then turns to me. You're shaken, he says. I bristle. I'm fine. He doesn't argue. He studies me instead, eyes sharp but not unkind. That wasn't for you, he says. I didn't think it was. It needed to be done. I understand that. A pause. You don't like understanding it, he says. He's right. We step outside into the late afternoon light, the sky washed pale and unconvincing after the darkness of the warehouse. I cross my arms, grounding myself. You didn't hesitate, I say. No. You didn't seem angry. No. Does it ever bother you? I ask before I can stop myself. He considers the question. Yes, he says finally. Just not the way people expect. We walk a few steps in silence. Explain, I say. People think violence weighs on you because it's loud, he replies. Because it's dramatic. Because it looks like chaos. And it doesn't? No, he says. It weighs because it's necessary. The words settle heavy in my chest. I don't enjoy it, he continues, but I don't pretend it isn't part of what I owe. To Falcone. Yes. And to yourself? A flicker. There, gone. I don't measure myself that way, he says. That's the first time I feel the shape of the cage he lives in. I stop walking. He stops too. You don't ever question it? I ask. Question what? The cost, I say. What it takes from you. He meets my gaze steadily. I question it constantly, he says. I just don't let that change the outcome. My throat tightens. That sounds lonely. It is, he agrees. The ease of his honesty knocks the breath out of me. For a moment, neither of us moves. The distance between us feels charged now, not with desire, but with something heavier. Recognition. Understanding that shouldn't exist between people on opposite sides. This is why it can't happen. I say quietly. He doesn't ask what I mean. I know, he replies. You're too loyal. Yes, and I wouldn't survive that. I continue. Being second to something like that. He doesn't flinch. That's fair, he says. The acceptance in his voice hurts more than resistance would have. I need to pause here, because this was the moment I realized safety wasn't the same thing as peace. He wasn't reckless. He wasn't cruel. He was exact. And loving a man like that wouldn't destroy me loudly. It would erase me quietly. The ride back is silent. I watch the city slide past the window, my reflection faint in the glass. My phone buzzes once in my bag. Work, probably, but I don't reach for it. My thoughts are loud enough. That night, I can't sleep. I lie on my back, staring at the ceiling, replaying the way Adrian moved, the way he spoke, the way he didn't justify himself or ask for absolution. I think about loyalty as a virtue, and then I think about it as a wound. The next time I see him, it's unplanned. Or maybe I just tell myself that. I'm leaving a late meeting when I find him standing near the elevators, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, expression thoughtful. He looks human like that. Less armored. You're still here, I say. So are you. Was that on purpose? No, he replies, but I'm not disappointed. Neither am I. That's the problem. We stand side by side, waiting for the elevator, the hum of the building filling the space. I've been thinking about what you said, I admit. He turns his head slightly. About loyalty? Yes. And? I don't know if I believe in it the way you do. I didn't say you should. You live like it's the only thing that matters. He considers that. I live like breaking it would cost more, he says. Then what? Then living with myself. The honesty in that hits hard. The elevator arrives. We step inside alone. The doors close with a soft finality that makes my pulse tick faster. This is dangerous, I say. Yes. And you're not stopping. No, he agrees. But I'm not pushing either. The car moves. I feel every inch of the space between us. You don't flirt, I say suddenly. He glances at me. Is that a complaint? No, I reply. An observation. I don't take what isn't offered, he says. And if it were, he meets my gaze fully now. Then I would tell you the truth, he says, and let you decide. My heart stumbles. The doors open. We don't move right away. This ends badly, I say. Yes, he agrees again. And yet, he echoes. The unfinished sentence hangs between us. I step out first. He follows. But when we part ways in the lobby, neither of us looks back. Because we both know what just happened. Something shifted, not into passion, into inevitability. Later, alone in my apartment, I finally let myself sit with the truth I've been avoiding. Adrian Falcone isn't dangerous because he might betray me. He's dangerous because he never would, and loving a man like that would mean choosing to live forever in second place, to loyalty, to duty, to a code I didn't write. I don't know yet whether that makes him impossible or irresistible. I don't plan it. That's what I tell myself anyway. The truth is quieter and far more dangerous. I wake up already knowing where the day will end. The morning moves like it always does. Emails, briefings, phone calls stacked on top of each other until my head hums with other people's urgency. I answer questions with practiced calm. I make decisions that ripple outward in ways I won't feel until later. I do not think about Adrian Falcone. I do not think about the way his voice sounded in the warehouse, steady and certain. I do not think about the weight of his honesty or the cost he carries without complaint. I don't think about how lonely that kind of loyalty must be. And yet, by early afternoon, my attention keeps snagging on nothing. A pause between thoughts. A breath I don't finish. A sense of standing at the edge of something I've been pretending not to see. By 3, I know I'm lying to myself. By 4, I stop trying to stop it. I don't call him. That matters. I go where I know he'll be. Falcone's offices sit in a part of the city that never pretends to be anything else. No glass towers. No curated minimalism. Just old stone and iron and quiet authority that doesn't need signage. I tell security who I am. They don't ask questions. That's the second warning I ignore. He's in a conference room when I find him, jacket off, sleeves rolled, one hand braced on the table as he studies a map spread out in front of him. 2 men stand nearby, listening. He doesn't look up right away. When he does, everything stills. Not because he commands it, because he recognizes me. Ava, he says. Just my name. The men glance between us, reading the shift instantly. You have 5 minutes, Adrian says to them, eyes never leaving mine. They leave without protest. The door closes. The click sounds final. This is a mistake, I say, the words out before I can soften them. Yes, he replies. That's it. No denial. No justification. The agreement lands harder than resistance ever could. I shouldn't be here, I add. No, he agrees again. You shouldn't. Silence stretches between us, thick and careful. He doesn't move closer. He doesn't ask why I came. He waits. I take a breath I didn't realize I was holding. I saw you today, I say. He tilts his head slightly. Where? Across the street from the courthouse, I reply. You didn't see me. I did, he says. My chest tightens. Then why didn't you? Because you didn't stop, he answers calmly. And I don't intercept people who are trying to walk past their own decisions. That shouldn't make sense. It does. I step further into the room, the door heavy behind me. You're very good at restraint, I say. It's a skill, he replies, not a virtue. I laugh once, sharp and brittle. You're not wrong. You didn't come here to talk about me, he says. No. You came because you want clarity. Yes. And you think you'll get it by crossing a line. I meet his gaze. I think I'll get it by stopping. He studies me for a long moment. Stopping what? He asks. Pretending. I say. The word hangs between us. He doesn't fill the space. He never does. I won't pursue you, he says quietly. I won't ask you to choose me. I won't make this easier by lying about what it costs. I nod. I know. If you walk out that door, he continues, this stays where it is. And if I don't, then we deal with the consequences honestly. No romance, no heat, just truth. It's devastating. I close the distance between us. One step, then another. He doesn't retreat. He doesn't advance. He lets me decide. When I stop an arm's length away, the air feels charged. Not electric, not frantic. Heavy. Intent. This isn't about desire, I say softly. No, he agrees. It isn't. It's about choosing to know. Yes. And once I know, I can't unknow it. No. His honesty is brutal. I lift my hand. I don't touch him yet. Tell me to leave, I say. He meets my gaze steadily. I won't. Why not? Because you didn't ask me to save you, he says. You asked me to be truthful. My fingers curl into the fabric of his shirt. He still doesn't move. When I kiss him, it's not rushed. It's not desperate, it's deliberate. My mouth finds his with a steadiness that surprises me. Lips brushing first, testing the reality of it. He inhales sharply, but he doesn't take control. He doesn't deepen it until I do. The second kiss lands harder. His hand comes up to my back, palm warm and grounding, not pulling me closer, just there. Holding space. The restraint in that touch nearly breaks me. This is where it changes, he murmurs against my mouth. I know. If you keep going, I know. He kisses me again, deeper now. The quiet intensity of it, stealing the breath from my lungs. There's no urgency in him. No hunger he hasn't already acknowledged. It's devastating in its calm. I press closer, needing the contact, the proof of him. His other hand slides to my waist, fingers splaying there like he's memorizing the shape of me without claiming it. You're shaking, he notes quietly. So are you, I reply. A beat. Yes, he admits. That confession feels like a gift. We don't rush. We don't tear at clothes. We move like people who understand exactly what they're risking and choose it anyway. His mouth traces my jaw, my throat, the sensitive place just beneath my ear where my pulse stutters. I grip his shirt harder, grounding myself in the solidity of him. This isn't escape, he says softly. I know. It won't make this easier. I know. It will make it true. I close my eyes. That's all I want. I felt his lips on my neck, his hands in my hair, his chest pressed closer against mine. I couldn't think. I didn't want to. I just want to feel him in every part of me. Our clothes came off, our breaths mixed, and when he pressed into me, my whole world tilted to him and only him. Everything narrows. I come back to myself, with my forehead resting against his chest, his arms around me, not tight, not possessive, holding. The room is quiet. My heartbeat slows. Neither of us speaks right away. I don't regret this, I say finally. Neither do I, he replies, and that scares me. Yes, he agrees. It should. I tilt my head to look up at him. You're still loyal, I say, unchanged. And this doesn't move you closer to choosing me. No, he says gently, it doesn't. The honesty hurts. But it doesn't feel like rejection. It feels like reality. I step back first. We both need that. This stays between us, I say. Yes. No promises, I add. No expectations. Agreed. And if this breaks us, then it breaks us, he replies, not quietly, not dishonestly. I swallow hard, that's all I ask. When I leave, the hallway feels longer than it did before. The building heavier. Outside, the city hums, indifferent to what I've just done. I don't feel reckless, I feel awake. And as I walk away from Adrian Falcone, one truth settles into me with terrifying clarity. I didn't cross that line because I was weak. I crossed it because I needed to know what it would cost me to stand on the wrong side. Now I do. Silence has weight. I don't realize how much until I start carrying it alone. Nothing explodes after that night. No accusations. No confrontations. No whispered threats curling at the edges of my world. Instead, things shift. Subtly. Quietly. Like a building settling after damage. No visible collapse, just stress lines appearing where there weren't any before. That's how I know it's worse. I don't hear from Adrian for 3 days. Not a text, not a call, not even a chance encounter. He doesn't avoid me. He simply returns to exactly where he was before. Professional, precise, untouchable. Which tells me everything I need to know. He meant what he said. At the next joint briefing, he sits 2 seats farther down the table than before. Not across from me, not beside me, removed. There's no tension in the room anyone else would notice, but I feel the absence like a bruise. Every time someone speaks, my attention tracks automatically toward him, then stops short when I remember what restraint looks like on a man who practices it as a discipline. He doesn't look at me once. That costs me more than I expect. The meeting runs long. Disagreements surface, sharp but contained. Lines are redrawn, terms clarified. I speak when required, my voice steady, my posture composed. I do not falter, but something inside me does. Because silence, I'm learning, isn't neutral. It chooses sides. Afterward, Claire walks beside me down the courthouse steps, her expression unreadable. You've been quiet lately, she says. I've been busy. She stops walking. I don't. Ava, she calls. I turn back, already bracing. What? Her gaze sharpens, not accusing, but careful. You're not pulling away exactly, but you're not here either. I force a small smile. You're imagining it. She doesn't smile back. That's what worries me. I don't tell her the truth. I don't tell anyone. Because once I do, it stops being mine to carry. And I don't trust what would happen after that. The next crack comes from an unexpected place. Ava Monroe, known for reliability, for clarity, for being the one who doesn't waver, suddenly isn't invited to an informal planning dinner she's attended for years. It's subtle enough to be deniable. But I notice. I always notice. I hear Adrian's name twice that week. Once in a whisper. Falcone's right hand doesn't miss much, and once in a casual aside that lands heavier than it should. He's not flexible, someone says. But at least you know where he stands. I swallow. That's the problem. I know exactly where he stands. And I'm not standing there with him. The cost shows up in my body before it shows up in my life. Sleep becomes shallow. Interrupted. I wake, with my jaw clenched, my chest tight, my thoughts looping around conversations that never happened. I replay that night. His honesty, his restraint, the way he didn't pretend love would soften loyalty. I replay the way he let me leave without chasing. That hurts the most. On the 5th day, I see him again. Not in a meeting. Not in passing. Outside. I'm crossing the street near the courthouse when I spot him leaning against a black sedan, jacket buttoned, phone in hand. He looks up. Our eyes meet. Time does something strange. He doesn't approach. He doesn't retreat. He waits. So do I. The streetlight flickers between us like a nervous heartbeat. Finally, I cross. Adrian, I say quietly. Ava, just names, nothing else. You look tired, he adds. So do you. A pause. I haven't slept much, I admit. Neither have I. That admission lands harder than anything else he could have said. We stand there, the city humming around us, the space between us charged with everything we're not saying. This is what you meant, I say finally. By consequences. Yes, and you're just accepting them. Yes. I search his face for regret. There isn't any. But there is something else. Wait. You could have made this easier, I say. He nods once. I know. You didn't. No. Why? Because I won't trade clarity for comfort, he replies. Not for myself. Not for you. My throat tightens. That's not fair. He studies me carefully. It's honest. I exhale slowly. My friends are noticing, I admit. They're asking questions. And you're not answering? No. That isolates you. Yes. A beat. I warned you, he says gently. I know. I step closer before I think better of it. You don't get to be the only one who suffers for this, I say quietly. He meets my gaze. I'm not. You don't show it. That's not the same thing. I hate that he's right. Silence stretches again. Not comfortable. Necessary. I won't ask you to choose me, he says finally, and I won't pretend this didn't happen. I don't want pretending. I know. And I don't want to lose everything else either. I know that too. The way he says it, without judgment, without pressure, undoes me more than anger ever could. This is unsustainable, I say. Yes. So what do we do? He considers the question carefully. We endure, he says, or we end it. The simplicity of the options makes my chest ache. Which one are you choosing? I ask. I already did, he replies. I'm still standing where I was. The implication is clear. The choice is mine. I step back. Not because I want distance, because I need air. This is what loving you feels like, I say. Being alone in a room full of people. He nods slowly. That's the betrayal. Yours? Ours. He corrects. I leave without saying goodbye. Not because I'm angry, because if I stay any longer, I might ask him for something he's already told me he won't give. And I respect him too much to do that. That night, the girls gather without me. I see it later in a photo someone forgets to hide. Wine glasses raised, laughter caught mid-moment. I don't resent them. I resent the part of myself that chose silence over confession. Because silence feels like control until you realize it's just absence dressed up as discipline. I lie awake again, staring at the ceiling, counting the cracks in the paint like they might tell me something useful. I think about loyalty, how it binds, how it isolates, how it can be both virtue and prison. And I finally admit the truth. I've been circling since the night I crossed that line. Loving Adrian Falcone doesn't feel like passion. It feels like standing still while the world moves on without you. And the price of that kind of love isn't paid in dramatic gestures. It's paid in quiet rooms, unanswered questions, and the slow erosion of everything that used to feel solid. The call comes at 11:47 p.m. That's how I know it's real. No one calls that late unless something has already gone wrong. I'm halfway through brushing my teeth when my phone lights up on the counter. Unknown number. No hesitation. My stomach drops before I even answer. Ava, Adrian says. No greeting. No softening. Just my name, tight and controlled. Where are you? He asks. At home, I reply. What's happening? A pause. Short, deliberate. There's been a breach, he says. Not public. Not yet. My pulse spikes. Where? Near the South Corridor, a transfer site that was supposed to be quiet. And? I press. And someone thought proximity to you might make it cleaner. The words slice cold. They used me, I whisper. Yes. I'm already moving, grabbing my coat, keys shaking in my hand. Don't, Adrian says immediately. Stay where you are. I won't hide, I snap. I didn't say hide, he replies. I said stay. Adrian, listen to me, he cuts in, voice sharp now. This is not posturing. This is escalation. I swallow hard. Are you there? Yes. Are you safe? Another pause. For now, he says. That's not an answer. I don't stay. I never do. The city blurs as I drive, streetlights streaking past like warning flares. Every instinct I have is screaming at me to turn around, to let the systems work the way they're designed to. But this isn't a system problem. This is personal. And I know exactly why. I arrive at the perimeter 10 minutes later than I should have, heart in my throat, senses on edge. The area is cordoned off. Quiet, contained, men posted where they blend into shadow. I park farther back than instinct wants and step out into the cold night air. Stop. Adrian's voice is behind me. I turn. He's moving fast toward me, jacket off, sleeves rolled, expression carved into something harder than I've ever seen it. You didn't listen, he says. You didn't expect me to. I fire back. He grips my arm, not hard but firm enough to ground me. This isn't a debate, he says. You shouldn't be here. And yet, I reply, I am. His jaw tightens. You're being used as leverage. I already was, I say. You told me that. His grip loosens slightly. That means they're testing me, he continues. And if I respond the wrong way, you'll expose yourself. I finish. Yes. And if you don't respond? His eyes lock on mine. Then they think you're expendable. The word hits hard. I don't flinch. So what's your move? I ask. He exhales slowly. I neutralize it. And me? He hesitates. That's everything. Say it, I demand. If I move openly, he says carefully, I cross a line I can't uncross. With Falcone, yes. And if you don't? I lose you, he replies quietly. Not emotionally, strategically. The truth of that lands with devastating clarity. I step closer. Then choose, I say. His gaze sharpens. That's not fair. I know, I reply. But it's real. The moment stretches, taut and breathless. And then, he moves. Not toward me, away. Issuing orders in low, rapid sentences. Men scatter. The air tightens with purpose. I stand there, heart racing, knowing exactly what he's doing. He's choosing. The confrontation itself happens out of sight. I hear it more than I see it. Raised voices, sudden movement. The unmistakable sound of force applied efficiently. Not chaos. Control. Adrian returns minutes later, blood on his knuckles, expression carved from stone. It's handled, he says. And the message? I ask. He meets my gaze. Received. We don't speak until we're back in the car, doors locked, the city sliding past, like it has no idea what almost tipped tonight. My hands are shaking now that the adrenaline has nowhere to go. You didn't have to do that, I say quietly. Yes, he replies. I did. You chose me. He grips the steering wheel, knuckles white. I chose to end a threat, he says. You were part of that equation. I turn to him fully. Don't diminish it. A long pause. Then finally, I won't. We don't go to his place. We don't go to mine. He takes us somewhere else. An apartment that feels unused, stripped down to essentials. Safe. Quiet. The door closes behind us with a sound that echoes. This changes things, I say. Yes. You crossed a line. Yes. And you won't pretend otherwise. No. The honesty is almost unbearable. He steps closer, stopping just short of touching me. This was the moment, he says, voice low. The one I warned you about. And? I ask. And you didn't walk away. I lift my chin. Neither did you. This is the moment. I should have walked away. I didn't. So before I tell you what happened next, would you have chosen loyalty or the person standing in front of you? He closes the distance then, slowly, deliberately. This isn't comfort, he says. It's consequence. I know. And once we cross this again, I know, I repeat. Stop asking me to be afraid of what I already chose. Something in him shifts, not breaks. Decides. His mouth finds mine with a quiet intensity that steals my breath. There's no hesitation now, no testing. Just truth pressed into every movement. I grip his shirt, grounding myself in the reality of him. He exhales sharply against my mouth, hands sliding to my waist, firm and steady. This isn't an escape, he murmurs. No, I breathe. It's standing still. We move together without rushing, shedding layers, the air heavy with everything we're not saying out loud. His touch is precise, reverent in its restraint, like he's marking the weight of this moment into muscle memory. You're not collateral, he says quietly. You're not leverage. I swallow. Then what am I? His forehead rests against mine. You're the choice I'll answer for, he replies. That undoes me. I come back to myself with my head against his shoulder, his arm around me, not holding me still, holding me present. The room is quiet. The danger hasn't disappeared. It's just paused. I didn't expect you to choose me, I admit. He exhales slowly. Neither did I. And you did anyway. Yes. Do you regret it? A beat? No, he says. But I understand the cost now. I close my eyes. So do I. We don't promise anything. We don't pretend this fixed us. We sit in the aftermath together, sharing the weight of what we've just done. Because love like this doesn't explode. It burns. Slow. Controlled. Relentless. And there's no going back to the version of ourselves that didn't know what it would cost. The fallout doesn't come loudly. It arrives in pieces. A meeting canceled without explanation. A call that goes unanswered. A pause where there should have been certainty. I notice it before anyone says the words out loud. Adrian has begun to disappear. Not from me. From them. The first sign is the meeting that doesn't happen. A scheduled sit-down between Falcone's inner circle and two allied families. Routine. Procedural. The kind of thing Adrian would normally orchestrate down to the minute. I know this because I see the draft agenda forwarded accidentally to the wrong inbox. Then I see the follow-up. Postponed. Indefinitely. No reason given, no replacement date. That doesn't happen unless someone powerful made it happen. And there is only one person who could. I don't ask him about it. That's the unspoken agreement between us now. We don't reach for reassurance. We don't ask questions that would force the other to lie. But the absence grows harder to ignore. At the next joint briefing, Adrian isn't there. Not late. Not delayed. Gone. Falcone himself attends in his place. That's when the room tilts. Falcone is not a man who fills silence. He allows it to exist until others rush to fill it for him. I sit 2 seats away, posture straight, face calm, watching the way his men glance toward the door every few minutes like they're waiting for someone who isn't coming. Someone who always comes. Someone who makes things run. I don't look surprised. Inside, I'm bracing. Afterward, as people disperse, Claire falls into step beside me. Where's Falcone's shadow? She asks quietly. Adrian? I keep my voice neutral. Yes, she says. That man doesn't breathe without him. I don't know, I reply honestly. She studies my face. For the first time in weeks, she doesn't push. That worries me, she says. It should. I see Adrian that night. Not by chance. By intention. He texts me a location and a time. No context. No explanation. Just coordinates. And a single word. Come. I don't hesitate. The building is nondescript. Office space stripped down to concrete and glass. The kind of place meant to disappear into the cityscape. Inside, the lights are low, security discreet. Adrian is waiting in a room with no windows, jacket folded neatly over a chair, sleeves rolled, hands braced on the table. He looks tired. Not physically. Existentially. You're unraveling something, I say quietly. Yes, he replies. What? Everything that made me useful. The words hit harder than I expect. You're stepping away, I say. No, he corrects. I'm being pushed. By Falcone? Yes. I step closer. Because of me? A pause. Not directly, he says, but you accelerated it. My chest tightens. Adrian. This isn't regret, he continues calmly. This is consequence. He straightens, finally meeting my gaze fully. They tested me, he says. Again. By using me? Yes. And this time, I didn't handle it quietly. The meaning lands slow and heavy. You exposed something, I say. I corrected something, he replies, a miscalculation. Whose? Their assumption that I would always absorb the cost. I take a breath. What did you do? I dismantled a route Falcone relies on, he says. Fed just enough information to make it appear like incompetence instead of intent. My pulse spikes. That's not small. No. That's betrayal. Yes, the word hangs between us. You did this to protect me, I say, yes. And to end the leverage. Yes. And in doing so, I made myself disposable. He finishes. I swallow hard. You gave up everything, he shakes his head once. I gave up the illusion that it was mine. I step closer, until there's barely space between us. You could have told me to leave, I say. You could have sent me away before it got this far. I won't exile you to preserve a position that required your silence, he replies. That would have been the real betrayal. My throat burns. You're choosing me, I whisper. He doesn't hesitate. I chose responsibility, he says. You're part of that now. That's his version of a claim. And it devastates me. The fallout comes faster after that. Falcone moves decisively. Adrian is stripped of access. Quietly. Cleanly. His authority dissolves without spectacle. No public accusation. No violence. Just removal. The most brutal punishment of all. People notice. They always do. Whispers ripple outward. Power recalibrates. Men who once deferred to Adrian now avert their gaze, uncertain whether acknowledging him is dangerous or useless. He takes it without complaint, without protest, without asking me for anything. I see him one last time in Falcone's world, at a gathering he no longer belongs to. I stand across the room, watching as he speaks to Falcone, briefly, respectfully, without submission. Falcone listens, then nods. That's it. Years of loyalty reduced to a single exchange. Adrian turns. His eyes find mine instantly. He inclines his head once. Not goodbye, acknowledgement. Then he leaves. I follow him outside. The night air is cold, sharp. You're free now, I say, though the word feels wrong. He exhales slowly. I'm unmoored. You saved me, I add. Yes. And lost yourself. No, he says quietly. I removed myself from a lie. We stand there, the city humming around us, indifferent to the fracture that just reshaped both our lives. What happens now? I ask. He considers the question carefully. Now I become dangerous in a different way, he replies. How? I no longer answer to anyone who benefits from my silence. The truth of that sends a shiver through me. And me? I ask. He turns to face me fully. You don't owe me anything, he says. Not loyalty, not gratitude, not sacrifice. And if I stay? Then you stay because you choose me, he replies. Not because I saved you, I step closer. I choose you, I say. He doesn't smile. He nods. Later, alone in my apartment, I replay everything. The restraint. The patience. The moment he chose to dismantle himself rather than let me be destroyed quietly. This wasn't a grand gesture. It was a calculated betrayal, one that saved me. The next morning the girls finally confront me. No accusations, no yelling, just truth, laid bare over coffee that goes cold between us. You're different, Claire says softly. I am. And it's him. Yes. A long silence. Is he worth it? Ava asks. I think of Adrian standing alone, stripped of power he never flaunted, choosing consequence without complaint. Yes, I say. Because he didn't ask me to disappear for him. No one argues. They don't understand. But they hear me. When I see Adrian again, that night, he looks lighter. Not happier. Freer. I don't regret it, he says before I can ask. Neither do I. Good, he replies. Because there's no undoing it. I meet his gaze steadily. I wouldn't want to. Loving Adrian Falcone doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with ash. With silence. With a man who chose to dismantle the machine that owned him, rather than let it crush the woman he loved. That's the betrayal. And it saved us both. The world doesn't end when Adrian Falcone steps out of Falcone's shadow. It rearranges itself. Quietly. Reluctantly. Like a city after an earthquake. No dramatic collapse, just subtle shifts in structure that tell you something fundamental has changed. The first thing that happens is absence. Adrian's name stops circulating the way it used to. Not erased, exactly. Repositioned. Spoken with uncertainty instead of assumption. People don't know where to place him anymore, and that unsettles them. For me, the shift is more intimate. I wake up one morning and realize I'm not bracing for the day ahead. No tightness in my chest. No rehearsed offenses. Just space. That's how I know something real has ended. And something else has begun. We don't move in together. That matters. We don't rush to replace structure with proximity, or loss with comfort. Adrian doesn't need me to anchor him, and I don't need him to fill the silence that loyalty left behind. Instead, we meet in the middle. Carefully. Deliberately. We talk more than we touch. Long conversations over coffee that goes cold. Late night walks where the city hums around us, like background noise to a life we're building without permission. I don't miss it, he tells me one night, standing on my balcony, the skyline stretched out in front of us. Falcone? I ask. No, he replies. The certainty. I turn to look at him. That surprises me. It shouldn't, he says. Certainty was never the same thing as peace. The truth of that settles deep in my bones. He starts consulting. Not officially. Not publicly. People come to him because they know he sees systems the way others see threats. He doesn't posture. He doesn't command. He advises. And that makes him dangerous in a new way. One that doesn't belong to anyone. For me, the reckoning comes from the girls. Not all at once. In pieces. It starts with Claire inviting me to lunch. Just the two of us. No agenda. No ambush. I miss you, she says after we order. I don't deflect. I've missed you too. She studies my face. You look lighter. I feel more honest. She nods slowly. Is that him? Yes, I say. And the cost? I think of Adrian walking away from a life he never pretended was kind. Of the silence that followed. Of the choice he made without asking me to carry it for him. It was high, I admit. Was it worth it? I meet her gaze. Ask me again when I'm pretending. This answer won't change. She smiles faintly. That's how I know it's real. The others take longer. Sophia avoids the topic entirely. Ava watches me like she's recalibrating a map she thought she knew by heart. Harper is the last. We meet accidentally, or at least, that's what it feels like. In a bookstore cafe neither of us has been to in years. She freezes when she sees me. Then she exhales. Hi, she says. Hi. We stand there, years of friendship and fracture hanging between us like a held breath. I heard about Adrian, she says carefully. I'm sure you did. A pause. He gave up a lot. Yes. And you stayed. Yes. Her eyes search mine. Do you regret it? The question isn't accusatory, it's vulnerable. No, I say. But I regret that it hurt you. She nods, eyes shining. I don't forgive easily, she admits, but I don't want to lose you. I step closer. Then don't. She laughs softly, wiping at her eyes. You always were impossible. And you always knew it. That's enough. For now. Adrian never asks about my friends. He waits. He understands that reconciliation isn't something you rush or demand. One night, as we sit on my couch, legs tangled loosely. He finally says, "They'll come back to you." "How do you know?" "Because you didn't abandon yourself to be with me," he replies. "You expanded." The way he sees me still surprises me. "What about you?" I ask. "Do you miss who you were?" He thinks about it. "No," he says, "but I'm still learning who I am now." "And how does that feel?" "Unstable," he admits. "But mine." I lean my head against his shoulder. "That's the best kind." There are moments when fear still flickers. When a passing car slows too much. When an unfamiliar face lingers. Adrian notices everyone. He doesn't shield me. He adjusts. "That's not safety," I tell him once. "No," he agrees. "It's awareness." I can live with that. So can I. We don't make grand plans. We make small ones. Dinner next week. A trip out of the city. A shared bookshelf that slowly merges without either of us noticing. This isn't a love built on promises. It's built on presence. The final shift comes quietly. A call from someone I don't expect. An intermediary offering Adrian a position adjacent to power, not under it, not owned by it. Adrian listens, asks questions, declines. "You didn't even consider it," I say afterward. "I did," he replies. "And then I imagined explaining to you why I disappeared again?" My chest tightens. "You wouldn't owe me that explanation." "No," he says, "but I'd owe myself the honesty." I smile. "That's new." "It's expensive," he replies, "but I can't afford it now." The night we decide this is permanent, whatever this is, it doesn't come with declarations. We're lying side by side, staring at the ceiling, the city distant and quiet. "I won't give you safety," Adrian says suddenly. "I know." "And I won't give you certainty." "I know." "But I will give you choice," he continues, "every day. Without resentment." I turn to face him. "And I won't ask you to be smaller to make me feel secure," I say, "or quieter, or less honest." He nods. "That's all I have." It's enough. Loving Adrian Falcone doesn't look like triumph. It looks like rebuilding. Not what was lost, but what remains. A man who chose integrity over position. A woman who chose truth over approval. A future that isn't easy, but isn't borrowed. When I look at him now, I don't see the right-hand man of a rival Don. I see a man who dismantled his life carefully, piece by piece, to stand where he could breathe. And when he looks at me, I don't see expectation. I see recognition. The world still turns. The families still maneuver. Danger doesn't vanish just because you choose love. But when I step into that uncertainty now, I don't do it alone. And I don't do it diminished. I do it awake, present, chosen. Thank you for listening to my story. This wasn't chaos. It wasn't obsession. It was two people choosing each other, knowing exactly what it would cost. He didn't burn the world down for me. He dismantled his place in it. If my story stayed with you, tell me the moment you realized he was going to choose me, even if it ruined him. Book 4 is next. And this one changes the board again. Like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me to continue to bring you these stories. Until next time, stay honest. See you in the next story.